A wildlife photo on canvas, new life for an old photo with embellishments from Stacey Caron.
Wood, metal, and ink for a distress page, embossing on all different mediums with Suzy West.
Today's ingredients for one great scrapbook soup.
Today's scrapbook soup has been brought to you in part by Spellbinders, dye templates for cutting, embossing, and stenciling. Beautiful details, inspiring creativity. Spellbinderspaperarts.com. Stamp, sprinkle, tap, heat, wow. Wowembossingpowder.co.uk. Sakura Color Products of America. sakuraofamerica.com.
We're mixing up today's soup with all sorts of unique ingredients. I'm Julie Faifan Balzer, and this is Julie McGuffee.
New materials or flavors are the spice to any kind of soup. And it's the same with all of our projects, especially now that we're digital. You know, you can print photographs on so many different materials. We've got canvas cloth. You can print so you can put it onto a t-shirt. There's organza. You've got fabric that you can print on. This is all inkjet printable. We've got vellum. We've got transparencies with and without adhesives, transfer artist paper, and you can even print a decal to put on a candle or a piece of soap.
So many good ideas, Julie. And Julie's up next with a beautiful photo of a bird. Well, Julie's got a great piece of wall art that incorporates a little bit of nature. And you can see it right here. It's beautiful. And I know you're going to start us off with a glue resist.
Yes, we're going to do a resist with this, and we're just doing it with regular white glue. And you know, I love taking pictures, and I took the photograph of this red cardinal a couple of winters ago. We actually had snow in Texas, believe it or not.
Snow in
Texas.
Texas.
And I loved it so much, I just wanted to make it into a piece of wall art and a gift for someone. So anyway, the first thing I'm going to do is I actually printed the photograph out onto some inkjet canvas paper, okay? And now I'm using the white glue, and it's a soft white paintbrush. And I'm very liberally, I'm going to put the white glue right on top
and that
of the
doesn't
photograph.
Smear the photo at all?
It's not going to smear at all. Now, I would definitely wait a couple of hours at least, and even overnight if you can, before you start putting the glue on top of the photograph to make sure that that ink really is dry. But the kind of printer that I have, it's not a problem. It is not going to smear.
And I noticed that when you're applying the glue, you're being very careful about staying inside the edges, because again, it comes back to that resist thing, right?
What I want to do is I want to cover up the photograph completely, and I would actually work on it just a little bit more to make sure it's a nice even layer, because we're going to add paint later, and I don't want paint to stay on top of the photograph.
Because the glue is going to protect the photo.
Exactly. Now, after I've done that completely, then I'm going to add glue, and I'm just going to swish the glue, just very randomly, all over the border. And there's no pattern to this at all. You can just do this however you want, and just very quickly all over. And then, of course, we are going to set this aside to dry. Now, Julie, if you would take that.
I will. Thank you very much.
And I'm going to rinse this glue now out of my paintbrush. And on this one, thank you, Julie.
That one's already dry.
This one is already dried. And now what we're going to do, we're going to cover it with paint.
Okay.
And this is a very gray blue, a wintry blue color. Very appropriate.
It's just an acrylic paint that you can find anywhere.
It's a plain acrylic paint that you can find at any craft store. Now, I'm adding a lot of water to this paint because we're doing a wash, and that's when you add a lot of water to your paint. And I'm just going to start at one end and just go right
because
all the
regular
way across.
acrylic paint, right, would be too thick, and the water makes it thinner and more transparent.
Right. Now, as you can see, I'm even going over the photograph, but as I go over the border, can you see how the areas?
I see those swishes coming right up.
There we go, and that's how we're going to develop the pattern. Now, I won't do the whole thing, but I don't want the paint on top of the photograph. So I'm going to dampen a paper towel, and I'm just going to wipe it off. And remember, the glue has dried on there,
it
so
comes off
it's
just
covered
like
and
magic.
it's sealed. And there we go. And we'll make sure we do that real. And you
Super
can rub
cool.
on it because the glue is, it's going to protect that photograph. Now, if you'd like to take that, Julie, and pass me the one that's
Here you
already
go.
dry.
And you know, this is something I can imagine that you could do the prep work and then you could have your kids or something do all the coloring.
Oh my gosh,
because
yes.
they can't mess up in any way because the glue is there to protect everything else underneath.
Right, exactly. Now, we're going to actually attach the canvas or the print on the canvas to foam board because we want to put it on the wall.
Okay.
And I'm using double stick tape on the back of the canvas. And I've cut the board probably about 3/4 inch smaller on all sides for the photograph. And then we're going to wrap it around the front. And then, of course, we'll adhere it onto the bottom. Now, when we're doing the corners, what I'm going to do is, it's kind of like wrapping a parcel. I'm just going to snip that in, and then of course we're going to wrap it around, and then we can tuck these little corners in to make it look nice and neat when it's finished.
Yeah, and one of
now,
the things...
I have one over there, Julie, and
Right.
what I'd like to show is this is a different texture. And instead of putting the glue on for the resist with the paintbrush, I actually use a damp sea sponge, and I just sponged the glue all over, and you see what a difference it makes. So I thought that was really cool, and I just wanted to share that with you and our viewers. Now, the next thing we're going to do is to add our little title, Winter Wonderland. And again, I did this on the computer and printed it out, but I'm going to jazz it up a little bit and add some glitter. So I'll just set that over there. And the way I like to add the glitter is I'm going to use, again, a glue. And this is a little bit, has a little bit more consistency than the
Right.
glue I used originally to make the resist.
Because you need a nice strong glue when you're working with
Right.
glitter.
And I'm going to just put a dab here like that, and we'll just run the edge of the paper right
What
through.
a clever way to put the glue on.
There we go. And then I'm going to just
Run the
dab
edge
it
right
into
through
a pile
again.
of glitter. Now, of course, I do that on all 4 sides,
Right.
but you get a really cool effect, and it kind of looks like
It's great.
glittery
And
snow.
then you would add your natural elements, of course, your twig
would.
and all your little bits. And you can see it'll look just like this.
And just don't forget to use a precision glue to add those natural elements, the twigs and the pine cones.
Awesome. We'll be right back. Well, Stacey Caron is back, and she has brought a beautiful layout that showcases a vintage photo. I think this is fantastic. And the thing is, you've done so much with die cuts. You're going to show us how they can be stencils, how they can emboss,
Yes.
how they can cut.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Well, we're going to start out by showing you a little trick. How do you get a piece of cardstock that's 12 inches to go through a die cut machine that's not?
How do
But you want that effect. What I've done here is I've taken a piece of cardstock that's cut in 2, and I've taken the actual die, ran it through on a piece of cardstock. Then I'm backing it, so I'm using the negative of the die cut, and then you can use the die cut later for something different.
I love that.
Isn't
I love it
fun?
when you get a twofer.
Yes, because you know you want to get the most out of your product. So
Yes, and I see here that when you put the 2 pieces together, it creates that 12 by 12 look.
12 by 12 look.
Very cool.
Exactly.
But what you're going to show us how to do something with a seam here, right?
I am. But first we're going to do some die
Okay.
cuts that are going to be a lot of fun. What do you
Okay,
think?
cool.
Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just laying down the cardstock and scraps. Save your scraps because as you can see we're using them. And what we're going to do is cut and emboss these dies all in one pass. So lots of dies all at once.
That's good. I'm kind of a lazy crafter,
Yeah, this
so
is
I
great
like anything
for those
you
of
can
us
do.
that like to do something quick.
Yes,
So we're going to
easy,
run this
easy.
through the die cutting machine and cut them all at once. So the first pass through the machine cuts out your shape.
Okay.
Okay.
And you know which is the cutting pad because it says
Yes.
cutting pad on it.
Yes.
I like things that have no mistakes possible.
Exactly. The cracking and creaking you're hearing, that's the die cutting.
That's
the
cool.
paper.
So you can
Yeah.
actually hear it
Yeah,
working.
you can hear it working.
That is
So
neat.
we have now cut out our dies.
Okay.
And now we're going to
They're
emboss
such
them.
beautiful designs.
Yes, there's no
too.
detail
Thank
right
you.
now. So right now they're just plain die cuts, as you can see. When you add the tan matte and you run it through a second time, that's when you get the emboss feature.
Cool. And the embossing just adds so much dimension and detail.
Yes.
It's really gorgeous.
Well, one of the cards in front of you there, it shows just embossing. So as that card shows, there's no cutting. So it's pretty cool. So now what we've done is we've embossed.
cool.
And this
I
is
can't
where you get
wait.
the really professional, pretty look to the dies that look store-bought.
Ooh. Yeah, because I noticed that even on these cutouts, you had also embossed around the edge, and it really does give a lot of dimension.
Yes, well, you can see in here, look at all the dimension.
Very cool.
So now the third feature of the die is stencil. So we're gonna take some ink and we're gonna color.
Use any kind of ink, your favorite kind of ink,
Yes.
whatever you like.
Absolutely. So now we're just gonna use the die as a stencil, and you can see only the raised areas are gonna be covered in the color.
It's gonna make you look like a very neat colorer.
Yes.
Because I happen to be a very messy colorer.
I hear you, sister, so am I. But this makes it so easy, and it makes it look really professional for beginners and even people that are...
Oh, and you just use a toothpick to poke that right off.
Yep, comes right out. Look at the detail.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that beautiful?
It is gorgeous.
So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna build this fabulous layout.
I'm ready.
Okay, so the strip that you see right here.
Yes, I have one here, but you know what, Stacey?
not
It's
12
not long
inches.
enough. Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
We're gonna snip it in half.
Okay, right in half, right in the middle?
Yep.
Let me
And then
get
we're gonna
this.
actually put the photograph matte, separate it, and that is gonna cover.
Ah, right across that seam.
Exactly.
That is a great trick. So
Isn't that a great
now
trick?
I have not 12 by 12 paper, not 12 by 12 strip, but it all
nobody
looks
would
12 by
know.
12.
Yes,
I love
nobody would know
that.
it. So then you just take the additional pieces. I've already
Okay.
went ahead and I've actually
Thank
stenciled through
you.
this already. And
This
then
is so pretty. The detail on these leaves is
It's just stunning. Aren't
gorgeous.
those beautiful?
Thank you. I love it.
and then we've got the bird right here already done
That's
for you.
a cute little birdie. Birdies are so hot right now.
Yes, they are. And then the beautiful flowers. Actually, when I cut the flower
Wow.
out, these flowers are made to twirl around.
Oh, I thought that
So-
was supposed to be like a shell or something.
And see, it's going to become a flower.
So you just use a toothpick right
Just
at
a
the center
toothpick or a
and
pencil,
you're wrapping it around.
And you're wrapping it around.
So if you used a pencil, it would have a bigger center.
Yes, it's going to have a bigger center to it.
So that actually makes it really customizable because you
Yes.
can decide sort of what you
and
want
you
to
see
do.
the different sizes that we got by doing
That
the
is
different
super
applications.
Cool. And you're just putting it onto some sort of adhesive?
Yeah, just some dots, some
Okay.
adhesive dots, and then
Okay.
just pull them off and put them down.
May I put this on the layout?
Absolutely, yes.
It feels wrong that you did all the work and I get to have all the fun now
But hey,
doing
it's all
this.
good. So once you get the flower started, you can then remove the pencil or the toothpick, and you can just keep wrapping.
Just roll it.
Yeah, you're just rolling.
And then did you do anything to
how
make
beautiful.
it flower out? Because I noticed you have like a bud and I
Yeah,
have
then you
more
just
of a
take your
bloom.
toothpick or your tool, and you just flare out the edges, and then you get that pretty dimensional effect.
Very cool. And I love that all those, even those little scraps that you cut before, you could use for all sorts of things.
Yes.
There are endless possibilities
There
with
is
this.
endless
And where's that
possibilities.
gorgeous butterfly that you just made?
So the gorgeous butterfly is right here. Isn't she pretty?
She is so dimensional and pretty. And I know that you just added some pearls on here
Yep.
for a beautiful.
And that lacy butterfly effect is so beautiful and popular. Everybody loves them. So.
I know. I think it's an amazing
detail.
way to showcase a photograph and to
It
do
is.
so much. And I know that you brought some additional projects that also showcase all
That's
this
right.
cool stuff.
So it doesn't have to just be for layouts. It can be for home decor items and cards. So just like you said, possibilities are truly endless.
This was so fantastic,
Thanks.
Stacey. Thank you.
Great.
And we'll be right back. Today I'm going to show you how to make a shabby chic layout that uses a kind of unusual material. We're going to be using wood. As you can see here, it has all these wonderful wooden tickets and wooden banners. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these little wooden banners and tickets, and I'm going to take a sanding tool. Now this has a very rough sand on one side and a finer on the other side, and we want the really rough because this is wood. And I'm just going to, without even thinking about it, just brush away from myself continually. And I'm going to go around the edges because most of the time when things become distressed, it's at the edges. And one of the nice things about using a tool like this is, let's say that I don't like the little fairy that's on there. I can, of course, completely eradicate it just by scratching away and really customize it to whatever my project is. But it's not just customizing it by sanding it and giving it that distressed look. You can also customize it by coloring. This is a sort of tan wood-colored ticket. I'm going to take an ink pad and I'm just going to start to color it with some green. And I can even blend colors. Let's say I want something a little more two-toned. I can actually go with a darker green, which gives it a little bit more depth. And hey, let's go for three tones. I can even take a brown and bring it around a little bit more. Now let's say I feel like I've gotten a little too much ink on there. No worries. I can go right back to my sanding tool and continue to sand it away. But there's so much more that we can do with these. So for instance, I have here these banners, and they have printed on them, as you can see, the words memories and happy. But what I want to do is I want to put the names of, well, the dog and the girl in the photo. So I'm going to flip them over. I'm going to give it a little bit of a sand here, and I don't have to worry at all about this metal eyelet that's in here. That's not going to affect the sanding. It's not going to hurt the tool. It's not going to do anything. Once I feel like I've got a good sand on there, I can, of course, color it if I want with just some easy pouncing around. But what I can also do is I'm going to stamp on there, and I'm going to use a really easy letter stamper. And the nice thing I like about this is sometimes it's hard to line up your words, but this makes it easy. I just spell out, and this is Terry, T-E-R-I. And as long as I can see it going the right way here, I know that it's going to stamp in the right direction as well. So I'm going to take a black ink. I'm going to ink that up. And then generally when you're stamping, you want the word facing you like this. But so that you can see it, I'm going to have it face towards you. Okay? And as you will see, there you go. There's the name all spelled out, easy peasy. And then you just switch these out, no problem, by pulling them off. Now, I happen to have a whole set here that's already done. Chaz is the name of the dog in the photo. And as you can see, we're just going to lay out all of these tickets, boom, 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 boom. But we need to add the title. So let me show you how easy that is to do. I have a piece of paper here, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add my sticker letters. And I like to slit the side of the protector so it just pulls out nice and easy. And I can spell out whatever the title is. And for now, I have one here, which is already done. And what I've done, you can see, is I just used a paper trimmer to cut that down. And now I'm going to take some scissors, some detail edge scissors, and I'm going to go ahead and I am just going to cut right around the bottom of here. Now here's the thing about fussy cutting. You'll notice I never actually close my scissor blades all the way. I'm also never using the tips of the scissors. These are the things that give you a nice smooth cut. You never get a jagged cut as long as you remember, don't close your scissors all the way, and always use this middle part of the scissors right there to cut. So now I have my title piece, which I will simply place down. And for a final finishing touch, I'm going to take a small paper butterfly. And there's so many to choose from. They come in these packages where there are just so many. I'm going to take a stamp. I'm going to ink it up. So I'm just flipping it over the back. I don't even need a block. I'm going to put some ink just in the center area. I'm going to take my butterfly. I'm going to press it down into that ink. Your fingers might get a little inky here. And when I flip it over, voila, I have this printed butterfly. Then, of course, I can add some more color if I want to make the butterfly just the color that I want it to be. I have one here that is already done. I'm going to put it in the middle, put a brad through it, and that layout is going to be done, as you can see, with our finished layout, which I think looks shabby chic, beautiful, and tells a story about the love between Terry and her dog, Chaz. I brought two other projects here, which are both have that shabby chic appeal and yet use unusual materials. This art journal spread here, you can see, again, uses the wooden banners, which are a lot of fun to work with, along with letter stickers and all the other stuff you saw us use. And then the layout, I love those big, they're almost like jewels of some kind, but it's a glass dome that sits over the little letter stickers that has everybody's initials, and of course tons of metal and little sparkly rhinestones. There's even some deli paper in there. You know, you can use so many different materials in your scrapbooks. Don't limit it to what you think is traditional. Have fun, play around, and we'll be right back.
Well, I'm sure you're all familiar with embossing. And Suzy West joins us, and she's going to show us how to emboss on different surfaces. And I love this wood frame you brought. I thought you painted it, but you told me you embossed it. So how did you do that?
It's all, you're right, it's all embossed. And what I did is I just took a regular plain frame, it's just a wood frame, and I took a watermark pad, which is, it's like a glue for your embossing powder.
Right, because we've got to have something for that powder to stick to, right?
Exactly. And all I'm going to do is press down and go all the way around
The edge of the frame.
Yes.
That is really cool.
Right.
Okay, and then what do we do next?
And now I'm going to just pour a tiny bit on here. And I can take it and emboss it in sections, or I can emboss the whole thing. But you can see the watermark pad makes it so that it stays.
Oh, it's stuck on there.
Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this paper.
Okay.
And you want to heat up your gun. Your embossing gun takes about, I'd say, a good minute to heat up to the right temperature. And once it's ready, you're going to take it, and I like to put it at an angle so that you can see how it starts to change. And when it does change, you're just going to kind of follow it along. Can you see that?
I see how it's melting. That is really cool, Suzy. And I like the way you mentioned that you could do it in sections, because there's lots of different colors that we could use.
Oh, yes.
And we could use brown or maybe another color on another part of the frame.
You can. And as a matter of fact, once you're done embossing it, if you'd like to even change the color or add a different color to the edges so that it looks like it has two tones, you can do that as well. But what you would do is you would wait till you emboss the entire frame.
Okay. Now, you also told me you can emboss on metal.
You can. And so what I've done here is, if you notice that page over there, I embossed on the paper, but then there's a little charm on there, and they're just regular pretty little metal frames. You can see it has actually a little bit of weight to it. Now, if you've never embossed on metal, you want to be careful, because when you heat it up, it does get...
It's going to get hot.
Very hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the entire surface with the watermark pad. And then I'm going to pour some of this embossing powder. And this particular kind has glitter on it, so it's really going to pop.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Isn't that
we all
pretty?
love bling, right?
Oh, we sure do.
And this is where we're going to use the stick, right?
Yeah, so we got to remember, what was the important thing here is that it gets really hot, right? So I'm going to take this, and I'm using this little stick to hold it down. And then I'm just going to emboss all the way around. And you can see how it changes a little bit.
Yeah, it is. It's gorgeous. And there's lots of different colors that we can use. So you
Lots
could make
of
it
different kinds.
go from silver to gold or copper.
Exactly.
And when the embossing powder melts, it's like molten lava.
Exactly. So
Really
now,
cool.
Now you can see I left a little bit undone so that you can see the difference, the before and after.
You know, that is really fun, Suzy, but let's look at some of the other surfaces. I just love this dress over here. And you told me that your daughter had actually used a rubber stamp.
Right.
And she'd stamped right on fabric or canvas, and then used a different color of embossing powder, and of course the watermark stamp pad. And then on the bottle, you've even embossed on glass, but there's something important about the glass, right?
It is very important that you use something very, very thick, or because regular glass, it's going to shatter when you...
Because it will get hot, because
Right.
the embossing gun is really
It
hot.
is very hot.
And then what about the little bird cage over here? That's adorable.
Isn't that cute? One of my friends made that for me, and she put the watermark pad just in different little areas on this little metal frame.
The stand?
The little stand, and we just put a little bit of embossing powder on there, and there you go. It just
is
adds so much to it.
Really, really cool. Suzy, thank you so much. This has been really educational. We just love to emboss. Thank
you.
And we'll be right back.
And we thought we'd share 2 last journaling ideas.
Well, this journal was created by Madeline Arendt, a viewer of ours, and I just love what she did on the cover. She's actually used metal, she's got flowers here and leaves, but look inside. This is where you can keep your thoughts, your ideas, your inspirations, just things that you like, and I love the way that she's used just little envelopes to jot little notes down here. This is obviously a saying that she likes. There's a lot of different textures in here, and
That's
she's
cork,
used
isn't it?
things. That is cork, you're right, Julie. But she's used things that are just readily available around the house, and she's just stamped things on it. But I love the way she uses the envelopes. You can put little things inside, just lots of different envelopes, because you know we get a lot of different things left over from cards and thank you notes, and just even paper.
I love that she's just put in regular lined notebook paper.
Yes, I do too. I mean, easily accessible. Everybody has it.
It's true. A journal doesn't need to be something fancy. And certainly Brenda Pinnock, who made this beautiful journal, is a girl after my own heart because she has put in a ton of different textures. First of all, this journal is made from a file folder. And what could be more accessible than that? You can see the big tab here from that file folder. She's used fabric. This journal is so touchable. I just want to touch every single part of it.
And this looks like just grocery sack paper, brown paper.
Exactly. Use whatever you can grab a hold of. You know what I mean?
Recycle, upcycle.
And inside you can see, here's one of my favorite kinds of stencils. It's a doily. I've been known to take them from restaurants underneath the teapot when it's a really cool pattern.
That's where mine went.
And of course you can see in here we have this great textured surface. It's some kind of netting, but you know, cheesecloth or anything like that is great. The hardware store is a wonderful place to look for unusual materials to put into your scrapbooks and your art journals.
You know what, when you buy bags of potatoes, then you get that netting on there. It is so good to put in your scrapbooking.
Great texture. And this is some embossed paper, and of course old wallpaper often has that great embossed texture, and you can get piles of it at estate sales and stuff like that.
And
again,
old wallpaper books.
Old wallpaper books are fabulous. There's also felt, again, more touchable. And you know, you can see she's used paint, she's used pens. Here's some more brown paper bags. And as we continue to flip through, there's book pages on top of fabric, on top of vinyl, all mixed up with her handwriting, pattern paper, paint chips. And one of the things that I really love about the book is that she has used it for motivation. She says, I will be strong, I will be amazing, I am loved.
You know what? She is amazing. And that's today's version of Scrapbook Soup. Join us next time for another great mix of ideas, designers, and projects.
Visit scrapbooksouptv.com for a mix of designers, materials, and projects. All of the patterns and pages on this Series 200, all in one Scrapbook Soup. This is show 207. Mix it all up with more Scrapbook Soup. A DVD set of all 13 episodes of Scrapbook Soup Series 200 is available for $39.99 plus shipping and handling. Visit scrapbooksouptv.com to order a mix of designers, materials, and projects, all in one Scrapbook Soup.
Today's Scrapbook Soup has been brought to you in part by
Spellbinders, die templates for cutting, embossing, and stenciling. Beautiful details inspiring creativity. Spellbinderspaperarts.com. Stamp, sprinkle, tap, heat, wow. wowembosssingpowder.co.uk.
Sakura Color Products of America, sakuraofamerica.com.